Alright, back again with another little how to fix something video here. I'm in the TH parking lot in Milldale, Connecticut. I've been having an ABS issue, and after doing enough diagnostics and making a few mistakes, I found out I need to change this ABS sensor. If you have an active ABS code for open circuit on one of your sensors, don't do what I did and go the long way around it. You can do two things you can do. You can unplug your ABS sensors, and on the female side you'll have to stick some type of lead in there, like a paper clip. I have a nice little thing that goes in there with alligator clips, and you test it for the on the ohm setting. You want to set it at 2000 2K ohms, and a good sensor will read in between 2,000 and 900 ohms, according to the literature that I picked up. So when you set it on 2,000 ohms, it'll be right around, a good sensor should be, the ones I checked that were good were like 1.1 thousand, which is right around 1,100 ohms. So if you get to a sensor and it doesn't read at all, then you know that's one indication that your sensor is bad. And if you have a new sensor already, another thing you could do, I try to keep nowadays a spare ABS sensor. What you can do is just unplug it from the truck side and basically take your new sensor and plug it in. I kind of said it backwards, but you take a new sensor and put it into the truck side, and you won't be able to do this way if you don't have like a Volvo or something, because like on the Volvo you can run a diagnostic and it'll tell you what your code is and if it's active or inactive. So if you have an active open circuit and you put your new sensor on and you go back and check it, you'll still have your ABS light on until you move, but it'll be now inactive. So that means it's not an open circuit anymore. And I guess another way you can check an open circuit is, I don't know if this is a good way to test it, but what I did also is check for voltage on all the sensors to see if they were all getting voltage. Because I guess, theoretically, if there was an open circuit in the wiring harness to the ABS computer, maybe you wouldn't get 4 volts. Maybe somebody could correct me in the comments. But like I tested the lead going to it and it was getting 4 volts, and the sensor was not ohming out. And when I plugged the sensor in, it went from active to inactive. So let me turn the camera around here, and I already pulled my tires off with a Milwaukee M18 gun, 1/2 inch. This one here, it's a 2767-20 and a 33 millimeter socket. I pulled the brakes off. Pull the tires off, pull the drum off, and you got to pull the brakes off. Pop the springs out, pull the brakes off, and I'll turn the camera around and show you at what point I am. I wasn't even going to film this, but I thought, why not? So sorry for all that talking there, but now we got the brake drum off. Of course, the tires are off. We got the hub here, and you see this is the ABS sensor where it meets the ring. It actually looks like mine's got a little gap on it too. Probably maybe too much of a gap, I don't know. But these 2 bolts hold down the bracket. So you have to unhook it from up there. No, oh yeah, of course you got to back your brakes off before you take the drums off. And unzip, get rid of all the zip ties so your sensor will be free, like mine is now. It's free. And yeah, 15/16, and on mine you got just enough room to stick one of these bendable sockets, a short 15/16, an extension, drill, hold it down like this, and I got to turn the camera off so I can do that. And basically I just want to give you guys a good look at this on a drive axle. If you're up against doing an ABS sensor, and if you think you might can do it by yourself or not, this is exactly what it looks like. Alright, so we got the bolts loose, and surprisingly the Milwaukee gun didn't do it. Somebody let me borrow one of the big half 1/2 inch breaker bars, and for some reason the breaker bar got it right loose. So, but these guys are pretty seized up, so I'm definitely going to put some anti-seize on it when I get back to putting it together. And here's the ABS bracket and the sensor. So I'm probably doing this the wrong way, but I'm just going to stand it up like this and try to beat it out with this hammer. See what we get. The ABS sensor came out pretty easy. Gave it one good tap on the top, boom, and then I put the screwdriver in here like the Phillips head as like a chisel. Tapped it down in there, and now it still has the brass piece in here. So I'm gonna have to probably try to put a flathead and get that brass piece out and get ready to lube up and put the new one in. All right, now I'm getting pretty greasy here trying to film. See this? I squirted this grease into this bracket piece, for lack of better words. You know, I put it in there. Then what I did was I put the end of my finger, you know, like this. It went in here, smoothed it out. And they also say to put the grease to lubricate it on the on the ring. So you push in, and if you look real close, let's see if you get it. See that tab? There's a tab on both sides, and those tabs need to be on the inside. See how this will be sitting like this? So those tabs need to be facing the truck, not facing out. And it'll say that, like mine came with instructions, and it says put it on the inboard side. So inboard being that way. So now, you know, this mounts back up like this. So what I'm going to do is stick the sensor through here, since I already walked it through there. I got most of the wire loom back on. I'll have to get some more. So once I put the sensor through here, you know, I'll pull the slack out of the cable and get ready to start mounting this back. Okay, so here's the next clip. You'll see what I did is I put the sensor in. You can push it in by hand pretty good. And there's this little square piece. So what I did was very easily I put a flathead on the square piece and kind of gently tapped it in with a hammer. And that got it going in. But you don't want to push it all the way through, or you might not be able to fit this back in without taking the hub off. So what I did was get it like mostly in. And now I'll clean off the lubrication. Then I'll get it back in and get it mounted. Then I'll come. Ooh, that's a good thing. Just realized how well I push it back in. Yeah, we'll see. Let me see. All right. So I got these back in, and this bolt will be tricky to get off, especially if you're by yourself. You might need a helper to get it off at least. Let me show you with my wrench here. Since this spider piece is in the way, you almost have to come in here at an angle and hold it just like this while you break it loose. Now when you get it back tight, it's a whole lot easier. You can do it by yourself. You know, you can actually put the socket on this side until you can't anymore. Back it off, put the socket back on this side, deep socket, 15, 16. Then get it to the point where it's already tight, then all you have to do is just stick this in here and hold it one time and give it a good snug or two. This one's tight. Sensor is right on here. There's no gap. So what I did, you can see, maybe. Sorry. Let's see if we can get it right in here, right there. That's the built-in tab. It's a rectangle. So when you install this sensor, you want to put it where you can access that rectangle later. So just keep this picture in mind. I'm going to pull the camera back. So what I did, I used these pliers, and I went in here and I adjusted it so one side would be holding this lip and the other side would hold that tab. And I just easily started to close it like this until it pushed the sensor and closed the gap. So definitely you want to make sure you lube this up really good so when you go to push it, it's not so much resistance. So If you ever want to know how ABS actually works, see all these little, sometimes they call them teeth, but these holes, and this is the tone ring that fits on the back of the hub, and this little sensor, it's magnetic, and when the wheel spins like this, it picks up those holes, and it sends small voltage back up to the computer, which lets it know the wheel's spinning. So if you ever hear about people saying there's too much of a gap, that's because if there's too much of a gap, it can't read these holes. So, and now's a good opportunity, because I was already chasing my tail with this before, and I just the other day, in the shop, we changed this tone ring out, and they didn't have a sensor here, and I didn't have one, but my original code was tone ring damaged. But when we pulled it off, all these holes were so full of gunk that if it's that full of gunk and grease, this sensor will have a hard time reading these holes. So if you're just doing a sensor and you have it at this point, you could probably get in here with a little pick, and it'll be real meticulous, but you can pick out each little hole so it can read better. And I just want to make sure you give everything nice, good, clean down before you decide to put it all back together. And yeah, so that's back on, that's back on. And you know, you can get real close, you know, and eyeball it, make sure there's no, you don't see any light. But that's right up on there. And you push it until it touches, and it'll back off to where it needs to be. And so now, you know, it's just a matter of covering it up good with wire loom and zip tying it down where it doesn't rub, and want to, you know, open up the wire and create a short, zip tie it down real good and bring it back up to the lead. So this is what everything looks like. Zip tied down, you know, run some electrical tape here to help that opening through the grommet. I don't think I mentioned that grommet earlier. You'll probably want to take that grommet out when you run the new line back through, and you'll probably have to use a flathead to push this lip back through it. Then, you know, yeah, you would run the sensor in through the hole. When you go to install it, you would run the sensor in through the hole first. Then once you have everything through, then you'll like reposition that grommet back in and use a flathead to push it through. But you know, you want to just zip tie it down, get it out of the way where it's not rubbing on anything. You know, got it zip tied there all the way to, you know, more zip tying down in there. You know, you definitely want at least this bottom part covered. So, you know, from, you know, especially in the winter, salted roads and all that good stuff. Okay, so this is what it looks like with the brake back on. You just got to make sure you have these rollers back on the S-cam. You'll probably have to adjust the brake to get this S-cam to move in the right position. What I did, I left this spring, I hooked this spring up, and to this, you know, there's a bar inside of here that the hook goes to. There's one spring on this side, two on the other. I went ahead and hooked these two together and laid it over, got this in, this roller. I had to kind of tap this with a hammer to get this roller to fit. And once I did that, I adjusted the brake where it rolled this piece. I want to call it an S-cam. Somebody's going to correct me if I'm wrong. But you roll this piece over until it locks into here. Then you just want to make sure that these two springs are really good in there. You know, you can use like a flathead to pry it down and get it in there. Then once it's in there, you know, just make sure it's good in there. And you got this one back here that needs to be good in there as well. So now with the brake back on, hub goes on, tires goes on. All right, that's the tire back on. Just don't forget to readjust your brakes. Jack stands from Harbor Freight. So this, I had a 35,000 pound load on the other day, and they got the wheel off the ground, but it was almost too much for the hydraulic to hold it. But now with the empty trailer, this does just fine. Okay, so if you notice, the ABS light is still on over there because you have to go more than 5 miles an hour. But if you look at here, you got inactive, inactive, inactive. And that was the one we were working on, second axle left. If you look at the numeric FMI 5 is open circuit, inactive.